instrument. Hello folks, Captain Rutlidge here. Welcome back to another commentary of an episode of This is Public Broadcasting. Next up, we are doing the premiere episode of Season 2 of This is Public Broadcasting, where we look at the TV series Wishbone. If there are any TIPB episodes that you want me to do a commentary on, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And in the meantime, let's get on with the spinny frame thing.
It's always fun. Anyhow, this was the first episode of Season 2 of This is Public Broadcasting, and we had a change of location because I had just graduated university and was in between school and looking for employment, and I was staying at my parents' for a while. And this is actually the lane that I'm walking up, just off the highway. Trench coat, scarf, and my leather satchel that I used during the last year of my schooling. And the two horses in the distance, they are Messrs. Dick and Doc. Yes, that is their real names. And that's a view of the old house. Just love how they look at the camera. Anyhow, this is the first season where I had an actual title card, which I drew myself. The place where I'm filming this is the old basement at my parents' house. You can see the sofa behind me, and those books on the shelf are actually some of my own. And yes, this was done in conjunction with the Great American Read on PBS. If you folks haven't heard of that, back in September of 2018, there was this whole contest on PBS to find the greatest American novel. And for the most part, I agreed with most of the finalists in the list. It's just too bad that a bunch of people spammed the button to promote Atlas Shrugged to the number 10 spot. Going from memory, I believe the finalists were Pride and Prejudice, the Harry Potter series, Lord of the Rings, I think Highlander, and the number 1 was To Kill a Mockingbird. But I figured that with the Great American Read going on at the time, I'd be able to cover a Wishbone for an episode of This is Public Broadcasting. My history with Wishbone is somewhat complicated. It was on when I was very young, but I didn't really watch it all that much. Then, when I was about 10 years old, they started airing reruns of it on Iowa Public Television, which I would tune into on Sundays when we weren't going to church. Then it was sort of where I got interested in more works of classic literature, namely through reading the Wikipedia entry for Wishbone. Then, during the time I was in junior high school, they started showing reruns of Wishbone on Saturday and Sunday afternoons on what was then the PBS .2 service. You see, with the PBS sub-channels, very often on the .2 channel it would just be reruns of PBS programming, and in the evenings and Saturdays they would have reruns of PBS Kids programs. If I'm not mistaken, I believe they showed a single episode of Wishbone and then a repeat in the afternoon. And here we see Wishbone as Oliver Twist, although I myself kind of preferred the 1960s version with Harry Seacombe.
Yes.
Please, sir, I want some more.
What?
I want some more.
At the end of certain episodes of Wishbone, they often go more into their stories or talk about various elements of production of an episode of Wishbone, through which we know that most of the series was filmed inside Texas. Oh, and here's the scene from Great Expectations episode. That must have scared a few kids how our dress caught on fire. Thankfully, no actors were hurt, and nobody's head was cut off in the Tale of Two Cities episode. The problem with filming in the basement at my parents', it was very difficult to get the lighting just right. You can see right now that part of my face is lit, the other half is somewhat backlit by the other window, but I keep getting the glare on my glasses. But I experimented with it throughout each of the episodes of Season 2, trying to get it right, but I don't think I really accomplished it. It was much easier once I moved to the new apartment where I'm living right now. Anyhow, most of the clips of these episodes of Wishbone were ones that I was able to find on YouTube. A whole bunch of them were uploaded from videotape footage. And these days it's getting easier and easier to find some old clips of PBS shows on YouTube. Especially shows like Lamb Chop's Play Along, or even a few episodes of Sesame Street. Anyhow, this segment of all the episodes of Wishbone was only 45 seconds in the video. However, I think it took me about 3 hours to edit together. I downloaded almost every Wishbone episode off of YouTube, and then I compiled them together for just a single 45-second moment in this whole video. Pretty tough. I had to look for scenes that best described the stories as a whole, as well as a few that included Wishbone in the frame, unless of course he wasn't playing a main character, in which just a frame that capitulated the whole episode itself. The background music, if you couldn't tell, is the William Tell Overture by Rossini. Sort of fit the whole speed of the moment. In other moments, in other episodes, I'd use the Benny Hill theme. It just depends on whether it was a more straightforward moment in the episode or it was more silly. Future episodes of this series would have gone more in-depth into the production history of Wishbone. However, at this point I was still trying to find my footing. You know, where today's episodes of TIPB run close to 20 minutes, this episode only ran 8. And oh yeah, here we go with the terrible lighting again. It looks like I'm in a Hammer horror film. Gee whiz. But we live and learn. We live and learn. But this next bit coming up was just something that came to mind while looking at the Great American Read. And I figured that for a fun bit, I'd record a video of my parents' cat, Rocky, aka Fluffenstein, playing around with a book of mine. And what book did I choose for this bit? Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You can see it for a brief moment, but I say during this moment, those of you who get the Red Dwarf reference, good for you. If you don't remember, in Red Dwarf, the main character David Lister had a cat named Frankenstein.
Well, that wraps it up for today. Remember to vote.
It was just something cute, and it still fits with the episode. Of course, Rocky was a mean old cat, and when we got her shaved a little while afterwards, it was pretty darn hilarious. Animal cruelty aside, but this was the first episode of Season 2, and also a moment where I started using out-of-context clips to end the episode. This one, I felt, ended it best. But what did you guys think of this episode of This is Public Broadcasting? Feel free to leave your comments below. And until next time, I'm Captain Rutlidge. See you for another commentary, and good day.